Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me. This is Ciara from Ciara T Designs, and today I have these really fun Easter cards to share with you. So let's jump right in. So I did grab some cardstock that I have in my stash. It's all from Simon Says Stamp, and pastel colors always make me think of Easter. So that's kind of what I was going for when I pulled out my cardstock. I don't have a lot of colored cardstock. I have a lot of Simon Says Stamp because I used to get the kits and that all came in there. So I have several colors here. I started with cotton candy, then I have lemon chiffon, mint, sea glass, and lavender. And I'm going to use a lot of old products in these cards. I have heard that there's a possibility you can find them on eBay. I will link to everything that I can down in the description that's still available from, our normal sources. But you might have to go searching or just use something you have in your stash and, kind of just recreate these however you would normally do. So I've got my colored panels cut down. I cut them down to be 1/4 of an inch smaller than my A2 base, leaving me a really fun white border. And then I'm going to run them all through. This is a Simon Says Stamp 3D embossing folder. It's called Crystal Distortion. And honestly, again, like I said, a lot of this stuff is old, so I'll do my best. But it is my favorite textured 3D embossing folder. I love it. I just think it adds a great amount of texture. And I'm going to mist my cardstock with a touch of water before I put it through. That just helps to make sure that your cardstock doesn't crack when it goes through your die cutting machine. I do have my Switch Plus just off to the side. And of course I had to change up my sandwich for the 3D embossing folders. It's always a bit interesting to figure out what sandwich you need for each different brand's embossing folder, because it is really different depending on what machine you have and whatnot. So you're going to see my sandwich switch out several times because this is a fairly die cut heavy card. So for this, I actually brought in, these are the Sizzix layered ovals. It took me a long time to find these. So any oval die you have would look phenomenal. You can use a circle, you can use a different shape. I just thought ovals would look really fun, so that's kind of what I went with. And that does have just a little textured ridge around it and has little holes. It's a whole set. It's actually kind of a really cute set, but it's really old and it took me a long time to find. So I also decided to splatter on a little bit of perfect pearls that I keep mixed up in a mini mister bottle. This is just something that I like to do. I love the texture that it gives. So if you're not splatter happy like I am, you don't need to do that step. It just adds a little something in the background. Now, this is one of my favorite die sets that Tim Holtz did. This is the Papercut Cafe, and it's these 5 cups, and you get, I believe it's 3 layers per cup. I guess 4 technically, because you also get one for a colored beverage in the cup. So I'm cutting the base layer out of holographic cardstock. Then I'm going to cut the next 2 layers out of that kind of pink leafy design you see sitting on my desk to the right of me. And then the saucers are going to be cut out of that green leaf design that you see sitting to the right of the screen there. I'm not going to show all of the die cutting because, like I said, this was a fairly heavy die cut video. And I know you guys, I've had people complain in the past that I leave in too much of the die cutting, so I won't leave it all in for you. I never want someone who's a beginner to not understand what's going on. So if I ever do something and you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. It does sometimes take me a little bit to respond, but I try really hard to catch the questions as soon as possible so that I can answer them. So if you ever have any questions for me, please leave them because I'm more than happy to answer anything that you're thinking that I might have missed. So I'm going to pop out the second layer of our cups. Now for the holographic layer, you actually only see the handle and that little highlight to the right of the cup. Everything else gets covered by the next layer. That's why I like to start with a metallic cardstock, because you get a really fun highlight in the background. So like I said, the cups are multiple layers. You get the base layer, 2 extra layers on top of that I cut out of that pink cardstock, and then 1 more layer on top that I'm going to add with a brown cardstock to kind of look like I have a cup of tea. Like there is an actual beverage in the cup. And of course, Aqua had to come and supervise. She tried to steal a couple of die cuts. She didn't, thankfully, because then I'd have to chase them around. But she did come and supervise, which was lovely. The die set also has, like I said, some saucers, which have 3 layers. You can see them sitting here. I'm going to put them together in a second. And off to the right, I also have steam. I like to cut the base layer of the steam out of vellum, like regular vellum. And then I like to do the highlight layer of the vellum out of a pearlescent vellum for the steam. You'll see what I mean here in a second. It's kind of hard to see on my glass mat, but I love how it looks. It gives it such a cool wispy look, and for steam I think that's really useful because it gives you the idea that you're actually having a cup of tea. Don't ask me why teacups remind me of Easter. I have no idea. They make me think of Easter. I don't know why, but they do. So I took my 2 layers of steam and I'm putting them through my Xyron sticker maker just because I like how that looks with the adhesive that you need to kind of adhere these 2 layers together. And so that gives me adhesive on the back of the base layer of vellum and on the layer of the steam that has the pearlescent vellum. And I'll put them together here in a second so you kind of see what I'm talking about. But you do end up wasting a little bit of adhesive with the Xyron sticker maker, but like this. But honestly, I don't use it very often, so it's not really a concern for me. I still have the original cartridge in my Xyron sticker maker because I only pretty much use it for vellum pieces. Generally, I just use Nuvo Deluxe glue for everything else. So that's kind of what I do. But of course, you do you. Adhere your vellum however works for you. This is just a great way I've found for little pieces so that you don't see the adhesive around the vellum. And now I have everything with the adhesive on the back. I did go around with my it's the rub-on tool by Tim Holtz. It's been discontinued. Again, you'd have to go looking on eBay maybe to find one. I have heard that you can sometimes find stuff on eBay, but I also have heard that sometimes it's really expensive. So I would suggest just finding something you have in your stash that can kind of, replicate what I'm using if you don't have the exact items. But I don't know. These cards turned out so cute. And I thought that I would do them a week before Easter, just so if you were struggling to come up with some ideas, maybe this would inspire you to, bust out a die that doesn't necessarily read Easter. Because I don't know, though cups say Easter to me, they may not say it to anybody else, right? It might just be a me thing. So I brought out my Misti. I have a waffle flower sticky mat in the back of my Misti, and that allows me to just kind of stick my pieces down to that mat so they don't shift as I'm stamping in case I need to stamp more than once. And I am trying to make my ovals straight up and down. It's harder to line up ovals. It's funny because you can see it here better than I could see it when I was doing it, right? Because now we've got like a top-down view so I can see if my oval is a bit crooked, but when I was looking at it from in front of it, I couldn't tell. So they might be a little bit off, but honestly, I don't think that matters. I think the card turned out adorable, and I highly doubt anybody who would receive one of these cards is going to be like, oh, the oval stamping is off. Like, nobody's going to notice, so I'm not concerned about it. I am going to adhere my little teacups onto the saucers just because I love the idea of a teacup and a saucer. They're just so cute. So I'm going to adhere those together so that I can put them on my card. And then I'm going to kind of start building the cards. Now, if you've been with my channel, you know that I've been trying to add stuff on the inside of my cards. I didn't do that here. I actually kind of forgot. And then when I was thinking about it later, I'm like, I don't even know what I would have added. Maybe like a floral stamp to kind of go with the cups, because I don't have a little cup stamp, a little teacup stamp. I mean, if you really wanted to die cut more of them, you could do that, but they are a little bit tedious to put together. So I kind of was happy with the 5 that I had already made, but you could do an extra cup to go on the inside of the card, and that would be super cute. I did not. So there is nothing on the inside of these cards. But now I'm kind of adhering my cup to go around my sentiment, and then I'm going to have the steam, of course, rising from the cup, and I will be adding a little bit of embellishment to these as well, just because I love pearls. And I think, I don't know, when I'm trying for I don't know, a little bit, not necessarily elegant, but maybe, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but a more upscale card. I don't know if that's the right word either. I like to add pearls. I like to add pearls to everything. So any excuse to use my pearls, I am there. I love pearls. I love embellishments. I just think they're so much fun. So here you see I'm removing my steam from the backing sheet from the Xyron sticker maker, and I'm just adhering it on top of my cup. I used my tweezers just because I find that I have an easier time lining stuff up that way. Like right here, you can see that I can get the tip of the steam right up in the cup, so you can tell it's coming out of there. And then that just, I don't know, it makes me think of, having tea with my mom on any holiday ultimately, but for some reason Easter always makes me think of this, because I've been an adult a long time. I haven't done any Easter egg hunts or anything like that, so teacups just make me think of Easter. I have no idea why, but I thought these cards turned out adorable and I'm so happy with them. So then we're just going to start building the cards. Ultimately, there's not much else left here. I am going to bring in my Misti to sit on top of these panels because they are so textured, like that 3D. They don't really want to adhere to start with. So I'm going to bring in my Nuvo Deluxe glue, put a decent amount across the back so I can hit all of the high points. And then I'm going to kind of adhere it where I want it on my base. And then I bring in my Misti and just set it on top, excuse me, of all of the bases, just to get those to adhere nicely and be, hold on. Because like I said, there is a fair amount of texture here, so it does want to kind of lift in the corners and not stay down at all. So that's just the easiest way I've found it, that anything would work. A book, anything you have sitting near on the desk that has a little bit of weight to it would help that. So I tend towards, whatever I've just used, either my switch plates or, my Misti, whatever I happen to have sitting there. It's kind of what I lean towards, just to make sure that everything adheres nicely. And I do love my Nuvo Deluxe glue. You could pop this up too, though, if you wanted to. I'm going to add some foam tape to the little ovals, but if you wanted to, you could adhere the whole panel, like add the Big Mama foam tape behind the colored panels, and that would just give you a little bit of more lift to the design. I kind of just went with adhering it flat and then just adding a little bit of foam tape behind the ovals just to give me a touch of dimension. Again, you don't need to do that. You could adhere the ovals straight down onto the panels, no problem. When I have a more straightforward design, I tend to add more height to it, like a little more dimension. The only thing that I am aware of is that I don't want the adhesive to be behind the holes. I want to be able to see through those little holes that are on these ovals. So I am aware of that. So I do kind of cut it to stop it from going over top of the holes, because I want you to be able to see the fun color behind it. Super subtle, but it's just kind of a fun nod to the design. And I like thinking of stuff like that. I think it's really fun. So again, not necessary. And if you see me pushing something above the screen here, I watch my iPad while I'm working. Usually it's crafty videos. Like sometimes I have Tim Holtz lives on while I'm doing this, or Christina Warner, or whomever I happen to be watching at the time. My tastes change depending on the day. So it's pretty much always artists though. So yeah, I just put the Big Mama foam tape from Simon Says Stamp on all of the back of the ovals. And then really we're kind of done building the card outside of adding just a touch of the pearls to have a little bit of extra shimmer and shine in the design, because that is how I do. But again, you wouldn't have to add them. Like, this is super cute as it is. And I went back and forth between adding the holographic stars and the pearls. And in the end, I chose the pearls just because I felt like the holographic stars would take away from the cup a little bit. Like with this, when you guys see me hold them up in the end to kind of show off all the designs, the holographic behind those little mugs is so cute. And it's just a really fun detail. And I feel like if you had the holographic stars as well, it would take away from the cups a little bit. So that's the only reason I opted not to go with the stars, but I love those stars, so really you could add them and it would still be super cute. I did aim to have my oval in the kind of top third of the card, just slightly higher towards the top than the center. I just like that look. You could center it. There's nothing wrong with that. This is just kind of my preference. And then, like I said, I'm going to go in and add my couple of pearls across the design. And then I'm going to hold it and show it up to you guys with all its glory. So I'm really happy with these cards. They turned out super cute, I think. I'd love to hear your thoughts, though. I always really don't know what you guys are thinking, so I had a lot of fun making them, though. And these teacups are adorable. I would love teacups that look like this. I don't drink my tea out of fine china, but I have started kind of collecting teacups, and I don't know, something about them just always makes me smile. It's such a fun die. I don't know. I love teacups if you haven't figured that out based on this video. But yeah, so these are the cards I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll leave me a like, leave me a comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. I do new videos every Monday and Thursday, and I would love to have you back. I have the goal of hitting 25,000 subscribers by the end of 2025, so fingers crossed that that's not too ambitious. So if you enjoy my content, please consider coming back and hanging out. I would love to have you. So, and if you have any questions, please leave them for me. I'm more than happy to answer anything you've got for me. And yeah, if you've made it all the way to the end of the video, please leave me a little teacup emoji or a cup emoji or a teapot, anything tea related I'll take. That is awesome. So thank you guys so much. Happy Easter to you if you celebrate, and I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.